Have you ever hoarded a bunch of stickers and not known when the right time was to use them? That was me with the mushrooms, but I finally found their place and it's in the giveaway journal for March. Hi, my name's Erin. Thank you for clicking on my video. I'm so excited to be journaling with you. Maybe March and mushrooms seems like a bit of a strange combination to you if you're in the Northern Hemisphere. March is actually the beginning of autumn for us here in the Southern Hemisphere, and at the time I set this up in the giveaway journal, it was actually way back in like November last year, I think. I did not know where this journal was going to end up, so I was like, maybe it will end up with somebody in the Southern Hemisphere, who knows? And then it didn't. But hopefully our Northern Hemisphere dwelling giveaway journal winner will still enjoy it even in spring. Who says you can't have mushrooms in spring? I say go for it. We're starting out with a quote page here on the left side. All the brush pens I'm using in this setup are from Archer & Olive's Calligraph range. They came with the subscription boxes that I tried out last year. Unfortunately, that means they're not available as packs to just purchase on the website, but I will try and find similar colors for you, so I'll have those linked for you in the description down below, as well as everything else that I'm using in this layout. Some of this stuff I've been hoarding for quite a while, so not all of it I can link to the exact pieces that I was using, but I will link to the closest things that I can find for you. The quote this time is from Thomas Carlyle. I was kind of thinking, I want a quote to do with mushrooms to make it tie in with the theme, but also make it romantic, you know? So this quote is, "Nature alone is antique and the oldest art a mushroom." Incredible. I really like the way it looks when you mix hand lettering with stamps, so I've done that for the quote page. And I've combed through all of my stationery and pulled out everything that I thought might work with a mushroomy kind of theme. So moss-colored greens, I've got lots of kind of taupe and soft greys and that kind of thing going on here, browns of course, anything with a mushroom on it, just like these stamp stickers that I have had forever. Thankfully, Paper World is still selling those ones, so I can link you to the exact item for that one, but lots of the washi tapes will be like similar colors in similar packs and that kind of thing, because the ones I bought aren't available anymore. You know I love torn corners, that's one of my favorite ways to decorate a layout, so I'm going with torn corners with this lovely mossy green kind of check printed washi tape sheet. And I'm using that to layer with some mushroom stickers and some washi tape. How cute are these mushrooms from Stash World? I'm actually obsessed with the little toads on that sheet. You wouldn't normally find me being excited about toad stickers, but these ones are so cute. So what I'm going for here is a tiny little collage moment in each corner, leaving space for the quote obviously on the left side and for the month heading for March on the right side of the page too. If you are in any way new to bullet journaling and you're wanting to do a decorative style like this but you're not sure where to start with the actual decorating, I recommend you get yourself a set of washi tapes that all look nice together and then just layer 2 washi tapes right next to each other and a couple of stickers over the top of that, and you have an instant theme. They can be washi tapes that are the same width, they can be different widths, they can have patterns on, they can be solid colors, layer them with some stickers that have similar colors in, and you're golden. There you go, that's a theme. I'm adding some more hand lettering here for my March heading, and I've worked out where I wanted my flourishes to go ahead of time as well. Something I've noticed I really like in hand lettering is a very slanted letter, kind of like what copperplate calligraphy does, where the letters lean quite far to the right. But I've noticed when I'm hand lettering, I almost never do that, so I'm trying to be more conscious of it and really lean my strokes to the side a little bit more. Sometimes I forget halfway through a word, but something I'm working on, just so you know. I added a tiny little fine liner box to really bring this whole layout together, and we're turning the page now and moving on to the very first actually functional spread for this setup, which is the calendar. I'm trying to mix things up month to month in the giveaway journal so that the winner has lots of different things to look at and use, and also so you have lots of different things to look at and get ideas from and inspiration. The last couple of months in the giveaway journal both had single page grid calendars, so this time I decided we'd mix it up and do some floating boxes instead, and make it take up a whole spread, so the left and the right page together. The journal I used for this giveaway journal is an A5 Scribbles That Matter journal, so that kind of gives you some size context. An A5 journal typically has 38 dot grid spaces from the top to the bottom of the page. Because I knew I wanted to leave a gap in between each one of the calendar boxes, I made them 4 spaces tall by 4 spaces wide. I think that fits really well on an A5 page like this. It still gives you lots of room to decorate if you like that. You could go bigger and do a 5 by 5 box and it would still work. If you're in something like a B5 journal, you could go really big if you wanted to, but if you're in a traveler's notebook, obviously you're going to need to size down a little bit. I'm adding some more little corner vignettes here, and because on the previous spread I had them in the bottom left and the top right, I've switched it this time. Thankfully that also works really well with the shape of the calendar. There's some space above the left side that you don't have on the right side because of Friday being the first of the month. And every time I make one of these little corner decoration vignettes, I'm trying to make sure that I represent A little bit of something from every colour and from every category of this theme, so a bit of that green washi paper, a little bit of washi tape, some general greenery, something mushroomy, just to make sure that it all sort of balances out. A great thing about this kind of calendar layout is that it leaves you heaps of space to put a number without eating into any of your planning space. We love that. And we also love a little box around things that pulls a whole layout together. I really do this all the time. If I think my layout's not looking connected and cohesive enough, I will just put a box around it in a colour that matches, or just in fine liner like this one, and suddenly everything works. It's amazing. It's like journaling magic, you know? Calendar spread is done, so let's turn the page. We're moving on to trackers here, and I'm really excited about how this spread's gonna come out. You'll see in a minute, you'll see. Just in case this is your first giveaway journal video with me, I thought I'd just tell you what that's all about. So this is a journal that I fully set up for the first 6 months of 2024, and I ran a little competition in November, and the person who won that competition is now in possession of this journal and can use it as their very own for the first 6 months of this year. There were actually a lot of reasons behind me wanting to do this. Part of it is that I just have so much stationery. Clearly, all of this mushroom stuff that I've been hoarding for literally like 3 years at this point had to go somewhere. And I didn't want to just declutter all of it, because some of it I really liked and I just couldn't find the right place to use it, so I sort of created a place to use it. Part of it was also that I'm using a lot of paint in my own journal this year, and I didn't want to abandon all the people who have been following me for these more collage-y kind of journal layout inspirations. And something I didn't even think of when embarking on this project that has been really beneficial for me is thinking about the ways that someone who's not me might use a bullet journal. I really wanted this one to be sort of universal, so whoever ended up with it could find it useful. And I'm in kind of an unusual employment situation. I obviously am a content creator, and I also run my own photography business and have done for the past like 12 years. I've never actually worked like a corporate job, so I don't really know what that's like. So it was kind of fun for me to put myself in the shoes of a different person and see how it went. As a result, because I wanted the winner to really be able to use this journal, I'm trying to make sure that they have the same things month to month. So I'm being consistent about including a sleep tracker, a habit tracker, and a mood tracker as well. I just realized I forgot to attribute this quote, so let's go back and make sure Thomas Carlyle gets his due, and then we can go back to the tracker spread that we're halfway through setting up. The mood tracker I did for February was kind of dry and not that exciting, so I wanted to make sure that I really highlighted it in this layout, and mushrooms give you a pretty good opportunity to do that because they're really easy to draw. So I've kept the more graph-situated kind of trackers in the center of the page and left myself all this room around the outsides to draw mushrooms. So there will be 31 mushrooms for the 31 days of March, and every day our winner can color in a mushroom. It's going to be so cute when it's done, oh my god. And I will have a little spot where they can designate which colors will relate to which moods so that it actually functions as a mood tracker. That's always helpful. I'm using a nice thick 08 Pigma Micron for this because I wanted a very nice bold clean line for all of these little mushroom outlines, but I will jump back in with a smaller one and add some details in a minute as well. As for the other two trackers, the sleep tracker on the top there has the days of the month along the top axis where it's green, and space on the left and right sides to put a range of hours slept. So say you were wanting to go to bed at 10 o'clock and wake up at 6 o'clock every day. Depending on how varied your sleep actually is in practice rather than in theory, you could fill that space in with a range like 9 PM to 9 AM for instance, and fill it in with the hours that you actually sleep. If you have a wearable device that tracks that for you, then it's really easy to do. You can just get the information from the app. If you don't have a device like that, then you can take a screenshot of your phone at the time that you're turning off the light and going to bed, and then check it again when you wake up, and you're good to go. If you wake up to an alarm, even easier, because that's going to be the time that you set it to be. So then say you actually sleep from 11 till 7, you'll draw a little line on that sleep tracker graph from the 11 down to the 7 so that you know on that date those are the hours that you slept, and you can compare it against other things and hopefully watch your sleeping habits improve, maybe, or notice when they're not doing well and hopefully intervene and try and fix it. These boxes we're drawing right now are for the swatches for the mood tracker so that our winner can assign moods to different colours as they want to colour in those mushrooms. And of course the habit tracker down the bottom, I feel like this is pretty self-explanatory. You write the habits that you want to make habits along the column on the left side, and then every time you complete the habit, you put a circle or colour in the space that corresponds to that date. Of course, for the mushroom mood tracker to work, it needs to have numbers, so we know which mushroom represents which day of the month, so I'm just going to add those in a tiny little pen so they don't stand out too much, but hopefully are still very readable. And that will be this spread done. Our next page, in my own journal, I've always just called it Goals, Favorites and Musings, but I'm summarizing that to Snapshot for the giveaway journal so that it has kind of an overarching name. It's a snapshot of what you were reaching for, what you were thinking about, and what you were generally enjoying in that month. So it's a little snapshot of who you were in that time. Hence the name, right? And these are really fun to look back on in the future. I'm also taking into account the meal planner that's going to be on the following page because I want these two to look really good next to each other. So we're going to kind of decorate and set them up at the same time, even though they are for quite different functions. Just for something different, I thought we'd do the goals, favorites, and musings in columns this time. Normally I make them horizontal boxes, but I was like, let's change it up. I did mess up my line spacing though, so very sorry about that to our winner. It's the kind of thing you can fix with a white paint marker like this, and that is something that I do all the time, is move my lines around with a white paint marker like this. I did it a lot in my own reading journal at the start of this year. Seriously, if you're using a journal with white pages, you have to get a white paint marker. I know some people use gel pens for this kind of thing too, but I think the paint markers are just absolutely premium. They're so good. I wanted to mention, yes, I'm spelling favourites here with a U because that is how it is spelled in Australian and British English. Like, that's just the way it's spelled for me, so I didn't really think about it until I found out that our giveaway winner was in the US, and I had a couple of setups still to do when I found that out. So I switched to not using the U once I knew where it was going to go, just in case you were, like, annoyed by that. Now that the left side is all set up, we can jump into the meal planner on the right side. I've deliberately tried to line up these boxes so that the top of the meal planner aligns with the top of the goals, favorites, and musings on the other page. That's just a nice little graphic design detail that looks really nice. I'm switching to a bigger ruler because it's annoying me that I have to keep moving my ruler around. This is actually just a calendar layout that can be used for a whole bunch of different purposes, but meal planning is definitely one of them. I've found a vertical orientation single-page calendar set up for an A5 journal like this. The sweet spot seems to be 3.5 spaces wide for each of the calendar boxes and then 4 spaces tall, which is actually ultra handy for a meal planner because then you have those 4 spaces to do breakfast, lunch, dinner, and a snack. But it could also work for pretty much any other kind of calendar needing thing that you can think of. So you could use this for content planning, you could use it for assignment or study tracking. Obviously, just as a normal calendar, that would work too. I actually use a calendar pretty much just like this one to track when I'm reading books and like how they overlap in my reading journal. So the possibilities are endless, and that's what's great about bullet journaling. You know what this spread does really need though? Some mushrooms, of course. This left page is going to be the last of the functional pages for this setup. This is a spending log, just a place to keep track of finances, make sure you know where all of your money is going month to month, which yes, can sound kind of scary, but if you make it cute with little mushrooms and stuff, then it really kind of softens the blow. So these tables, the left one and the top right one are the same. It's just 3 columns: item, category, and cost. You can categorize your spending however it makes the most sense to you. I do things like life expenses for rent or mortgage repayments or stuff that you can't avoid having to pay for. Groceries is a category, and like entertainment and beauty, journaling, craft supplies, that kind of thing. And this bottom table that just has 2 columns are for category and total. So you can add up all of your category items and find out what the total cost was across that category, if that makes sense. So everything that you spent on groceries for the month, not just like one at a time. I always find that I need a fair bit of space for the actual planning for this one, so we're keeping the decoration pretty small, but it's not a theme if it isn't consistent all the way throughout the layout. So we have to put little bits of green, little mushrooms, and make it all feel cohesive. And this page on the right is kind of like a choose your own adventure page, a little wild card, you know? I wanted to make sure I was building in some flexibility for the winner of this journal, so if there was something they needed to track or something they wanted to keep a page for that I hadn't thought of, there's room. So I am decorating this one, but only lightly, so there's lots of space in case they want to use it quite heavily. And if the giveaway journal winner doesn't have a purpose for this page, then instead they can use some of the leftover mushroomy goodness that I have sent along with the journal and make a fun little junk journal, maybe another quote page, something like that. Just have a good time with it. Maybe even doodle some mushrooms of their own. That could be fun, or a little coloring in project, you know. Possibilities for this one, once again, endless, which is just the way I like my possibilities. Now that's all done, let's turn the page and move into the weekly spreads, and I thought it would be really fun to do a waterfall tab system for the weeklies this time, which is where you cut off part of the page consecutively, kind of from the last page to the first, so that each one reveals a little bit more of the page that's underneath it, and they all kind of lay on top of each other and make this cascading waterfall kind of effect. So I've gone through and planned this out in pencil first, so I know exactly what I'm doing, because once you start removing paper, it's pretty hard to get it back into the journal, you know? This is actually kind of a variation on what I've been doing in my own journal for my weeklies lately, except on the visible sides on the left and right, rather than having space for trackers there and making it kind of a dashboard system, this time I'm just designating that space for pretty. So the rearmost page, the one closest to the end of the month, that's the page where I took off the least amount of paper, and then I'm just moving by increments of 2 dot grid spaces every time to cut off a little bit more of the page so that the ones underneath are revealed. And later on we're going to add some washi tape to them so they look really cute, but for now let's put the functional parts of the first weekly. So I'm dividing the space that remains on the right page and matching it on the left. That's going to be, you know, the void on the left side of those boxes is going to be where the pretty goes, but these little boxes are for each of the weeklies for any planning day-to-day, to-do lists, events, tasks, that kind of thing can go here. I like symmetry, so I like dividing these spaces into 8 because it works better than 7, you know, and adding a little note section at the bottom. That can be good for things that don't have to happen on a particular day, if you find that helpful. Or if you do have days that are typically busier than others, then you could make those spaces bigger and not have a note section, and that would work too. I've tried to line this up with my thinnest washi tape set, and I'm going to be varying the greens and the taupes and the browns along these tabs on the side here so that everything looks nice when the pages are all kind of together and next to each other. I did feel like I needed a bit of a reference for that, so I'm going to decorate the sides here before we move on to anything else, so I have that kind of context of what the colours should look like overall, and then I can use that for my waterfall tabs and feel like I'm making things a bit more cohesive. Now we carry on and set up the weeklies for the rest of the weeks of March. This next one is actually going to be basically the exact same design because that's kind of what you have space for. When you cut the pages down like this, it does limit your design choices a little bit. So if you're someone who likes variety in your journal like me, then you kind of have to find other ways to bring that variety in. In this case, I'm going to do that with the lettering. So on the previous spread, I'd used the letter and number stamps to make the headings for each day. This time I'm going to hand letter them so they look a little bit different. I'm going back to my letter and number stamps again this time so that it's different to the previous spread. Sometimes just a little change like that from week to week can be all you need for a bit of spice and variety. I'm also changing up which pen I do this with, so it's a different pen to the previous week, and then we're going to change the pen again and go back to hand lettering again for the next one. This final weekly actually affords us a lot more page space because it is the biggest of the waterfall tabs, and I have the whole page left on the right side as well, so I'm going to change this one up and make it vertical instead. That might actually make it feel really inconsistent with the other weeklies, so if you like consistency above all other things, then maybe don't change up the last one. But I know if this was my journal, I would just be getting really bored with the exact same weekly layout over and over like that, so I thought I'd mix it up in case the giveaway journal winner is a bit more like me. I'm also going to decorate this right side now that I know how much of that space I'll be taking up with my weekly. Something I love doing every time I cut away some of the page in my journal is using a little corner punch tool to make the edge rounded, because then it feels like the book actually just came this way. It makes it look very polished and finished. You can absolutely get this look with scissors as well. You just have to try and be really precise, maybe make a little guide for yourself to follow. But I do also have this corner punch tool linked down in the description too, in case you want to get your hands on one. They're pretty fun. I just can't help myself. I have to pretty these up a little bit more, so I'm going to use some more of my mushrooms and just add a little bit more pizzazz to these weeklies so that they've just got a bit more going on than just boxes with letters in, you know. I really find that makes a big difference, at least for me. let's flip through this mushroomy little layout. Thank you so much for planning with me. Definitely leave me a mushroom emoji down below if you have stuck around all the way to the end of the video. And feel free to hit like if you enjoyed watching as well, and you can subscribe if you haven't done that already and you'd like to see more of this kind of thing from me. I hope you got some ideas for your own journal, and I hope our giveaway journal winner loves using these pages so much. Next week's video will be March in my very own journal, and the vibes could not be more different to this, so I hope you enjoy. Look forward to that one. If mushrooms aren't really your thing, you can check out my March setup video from last year, which was much more floral vibes, although similar colours maybe? There's a link to that video on the screen right now, so you can continue watching, and underneath that is a link to a playlist of all of the bullet journal setups I did for 2023, so you can keep watching and get some inspiration. Enjoy!